Hey fellow viewers, and welcome to another one of my small tutorials, this time again concerning the 6 updater, and specifically on how to host a custom repository when you're running your own server and want to distribute your own mods to your users. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to assume that you are running a Windows server and that your game server is also running on this host. There's, of course, multiple ways of setting this up, but the most easy way, or the easiest way, is if you have all the services installed on one machine, that is the game server itself, 6 updater, and a web server, which you are going to need to distribute your mod files. So let me show you an example. On this machine here, I have 2 partitions, and on partition D there's a folder called webspace, which is actually a folder that has an Apache web server in it, which is running on this local machine, and the folder htdocs, which is hosting all the files that are viewable on the web. And the game is installed. To be precise, this is Arma 2 Combined Operations, and this is a typical installation that you would be running if you're hosting your own Arma 2 server as of this date, I guess. So I have 6 updater installed on this PC, so just let's get started. Again, what I'm going to show you is how to host your own custom repository with the use of 6 updater and how this facilitates operations and maintaining your mod set. Starting 6 updater is now way faster than it used to be. There's some nice progression on this application. And if you are starting this and didn't pay close attention when you were installing your game, or your 6 updater, it might look something like this. You only have the homepage tab, the mods tab, apps, and own repositories. Let me quickly change this to the English language. Okay. And no multiplayer features. Well, you need multiplayer features to be able to host a custom repository, because as of now certain functions are not available to you. If you did miss that option, it's not a problem. If you go on the top left corner, click on options, there's this small checkbox, it's called multiplayer, and if you just enable that, you can see that now you have the server browser available. And still some features are missing, which we are going to need. That is the advanced features. So if you want to use them, like the repo manager, which we are going to use, just click on this advanced button. And you can see now we have a repo manager, server manager, and some more stuff available to us. So as you can see, this is a vanilla, so to speak, installation of 6 updater. I have no profiles yet whatsoever. And yeah, let's just get started on how the principle, or how it works in principle. On your server, you use 6 updater to update the mod set that the server is using. And you can then use these installed mods to also populate your custom repository. So the first step you're going to need to do is create a profile that actually has all the mods you're going to use on your server. So for example, you right click in this field here and select new preset. And then you right click the new preset and rename it. You can name it to whatever you want, or just name it server. So I know this is a preset for my server. After you've done that, you have this preset available to you, and clicking on the mods tab in the middle part of the program, you select the mods which you want to use. For example, I want to have the users use Acre on my server, which is a really fantastic mod, integrating the gameplay with TeamSpeak and have directional speaking and radios. So I just click add to preset while having the server preset selected. Note that 6 updater will automatically add all the required mods which Acre is dependent on to your preset. So I have only selected Acre, but it has automatically added CBA, CBA A2, Operation Arrowhead version of CBA, and Arma 2lib. Because I do not have the beta installed on my game server, it shows Arma 2lib, but this is entirely another topic. If you're familiar with Acre, you know there's 2 versions of Arma 2lib. But for now, let's just go with this. So, and also don't worry about the new preset being displayed up here. It's just because this hasn't updated on this top list. I think if I click this again, then Well, it actually doesn't, but here it says server. It's just a small glitch in the program, I guess. Will be removed. And yeah, let's just go ahead and select the action to install or update the selected mods. I've chosen some small mods, and I'm just gonna go ahead and accept these license agreements. You have to do this in every new mod that you don't have installed yet. If you're just updating mods that are already present, you do not have, of course, to click through these license agreements. Of course, mind to read them, as you should always do as a good citizen. So after all the agreements are accepted, niCe Updater will start executing and downloading our mods. And if I open the game folder, you can see that it is creating the new mod folders inside of my main directory. They are downloaded into the main directory of my game because these add-ons are coming from the official network. Thus, they are always installed into your main directory if you do not change specific options in the niCe Updater. For your clients, this will not be the case. If you host your own custom repository, then a subdirectory will be created in their game folder, so they don't mix up official Updater version mods with your custom repository. This is a very smart feature, I guess, to not get mixed up with mod versions. So every server you're going to have on your client, you can have multiple of them, of course, using niCe Updater, will create its own subdirectory with all the mods it requires. Okay, so this has been pretty quick. As I said, I've chosen small mods, so we don't have to wait for a long time. Now niCe Updater is asking me if I want to install the necessary applications for TeamSpeak to be able to use these mods. I select no, because this of course is a server. We won't be actually running TeamSpeak on this server, so we don't need this. And it's finished. So now on to the repo manager, which is actually the heart of this task on creating your own repository. You just click it, then this small window pops up, where you first have to create a new repository. You don't have one yet, this list is blank, so let's just create one. This is now asking you to select a folder in which this repository is created. I would suggest you create a new folder on your hard disk drive and name it, for example, repository. Oops, repository. Why is it always so hard for guys on videos to type things correctly? Okay, this should do the trick, I guess. And select the folder. It tells you that this folder is not initialized yet. Of course, we have just created it. It can't be initialized. So we click yes. And what this actually does is it creates a sort of default configuration and folder layout inside of your repository folder. But you don't have to worry about any of this. Everything is taken care of by niCe Updater. Okay, so now that we have a repository, let's go ahead and, well, first of all, let's go ahead and copy the mods that we want to host in our repository into the repository folder. So select your preset before clicking on the repo manager, and then simply click on copy preset mods. Then it's gonna show you all the mods you have selected. This should be the same as what is selected in your preset, so check this. And click yes. Fairly quickly again, because these mods are very small. And there you have it. In your repository folder, you now have all the mods that you have in your preset, and you can continue with your operation. The next step, that if you're using this, is you could copy multiplayer missions to your folder. You can either do that by clicking on this Add Mission button, or by simply copying any multiplayer missions you want to distribute to your clients into this MP missions folder inside of your repository folder. But note, this doesn't mean that you have to do this. Of course, if a client connects to your server and a mission is running that the client does not have yet, it will simply download the mission using the game as it would normally do. So now that we have our mods, we can actually begin adding a server. So you click on the Servers tab and click on Add Server. Now it's asking you to input requested information. This is a little bit misleading. What this is actually asking you to name is a name of your server configuration. What you can put in here is just an identifier for your server, which has to be only one word, no spaces. And as I'm only going to host one server, I will name this just server, like my preset. And I click OK. And now the next part is it has created a new row in this table. You can give a server name, for example, my server. This will be displayed in 6-AppData when people import your server. This has nothing to do with the host name of your server, which is defined in the server config. An IP address. This can be any IP address. My server is hosted on... Oh, actually, this is a bad example. You should put in an actual internet available IP address. For example, it could be something like this. This IP address probably doesn't exist. And so you should put in the IP address of your server, of course. And a port. By default, I think it's 2315 or 2330, I'm not sure. Verify this with your server configuration, on which port are you hosting your server. You could specify the password if your server has a requested password. If you do not specify anything here, anybody trying to connect to your server using the 6-AppData will have to manually put in the password if they know it. So it might be a good idea to enter this here, it might not be a good idea, it's up to you. Then you can input an info URL. This could be your website. So for example, www.mydomain.com. And then there is a field for the message of the day. You cannot double click this. You have to click on the edit message of the day button, and then you can enter hello, welcome to my server, enjoy, or whatever. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you. It's just an informatory message to the users, which is displayed down here when they select the server, or rather down here if they select the server in 6-AppData. So it could be a small update notification if you change something with your mods, or whatever message you want to distribute. Okay, so now we have a server set with an IP address. Of course, this doesn't exist. So in my case, it is a locally hosted server. So this would be the IP address. But again, this is not a good idea to put in this IP address. So don't do exactly as I did. Put in the right IP address here. Now the next part is we have to actually specify which mods are required for the user to be able to join our server. So with the required mods in view, we click on the Add button. And then you can see that actually all of these mods are required because they are all dependencies of Acre. So we have to select all of these mods. So we go ahead and select Acre, and then CBA, CBA2, CBA OA, and JAMA Tulip. Where do we have it? JAMA Tulip, there you go. And note that here you have the two versions I was talking about earlier. Make sure you select the correct one. And hit OK. Now you can see we have 5 required mods, all of which are hosted in our custom or going to be hosted in our custom repository. Of course, you don't have to do it this way. You can always add another required mod which you will not host yourself. For example, you might be wanting to host islands, and you don't want to host these islands because they can be fairly big, for example Clavgan, and you don't want to host them yourself, but still want them to be a required mod. So you can just add them. Now we have 6 required mods, and whenever a user selects your preset now, they will select and download these 5 mods from your custom repository, and will get the add-on Clavgan from the official network. Of course, this means that we have to keep your server up to date and always have the same version of Clavgan as is available on the official network, but as islands rarely ever get updated, this shouldn't be too much of a trouble. And then you can also enter or add optional mods. These are mods that are not required, but users can have enabled when they're joining your server. So for example, these could be sound mods. ASXSM is one of these mods, and then there's a very popular mod called JSRS. And oh, actually I added this by mistake because I clicked something else. Okay, remove this again. So now we have 8 mods in total, 6 of which are required and 2 of which are optional. We have no multiplayer missions added, and as of yet we have no apps added. Apps could be a TeamSpeak server, for example. It is a good idea to do this. to have this TeamSpeak server, described in your repository. So people connecting to this using 6.data will automatically be notified and have the option to launch TeamSpeak and TeamSpeak 3 with a correct server already set up. So let's go ahead and add an application. This is the TeamSpeak 3. Again, this is just one word, no spaces. By default, it selects TeamSpeak 3 as a type. Again, put in your server's address. This could also be a host name. For example, our TeamSpeak's address is niCe.team.eu. The port, I guess you can leave this blank if it's the default port. This should be 9987 if I remember correctly. I'm not sure, so don't use this exact value. Check it yourself. If your server has a password, you can specify this here. If you want them to join a specific channel upon connecting to your server, and if this channel has a password, you can specify those two values here. Okay, so we have added the TeamSpeak 3 application. Now let's go back to the Servers tab. You could click Save first to make sure that we don't lose any of our changes if something should happen now. Let's go back to the Servers tab and add the application we've just added. Note that this application is now assigned to this server because applications are server specific. You could have multiple servers running here, all using the same repository, no problem at all. So okay, this is the part about setting up your server, adding an application, and now for the fun part, actually hosting the repository. Let's go back to the main tab. Note here that there's some settings that we have not added yet, which are the remote folder, which is the folder that 6.data is going to push your add-ons to. This could be an FTP server address, an rsync server address, but for this particular example, as I've mentioned before, everything is on this machine. So the remote folder is actually not very remote, but local. So let's go ahead and select our remote folder, which is of course in the webspace directory in the publicly viewable folder htdocs. And then let's go ahead and create a new folder again and name this repository as well. Oh, this went a lot smoother. Select the folder, and we don't need a private key. This is only applicable if you're using rsync or maybe SFTP. I don't know if that's supported. You can go ahead and add in homepage information, which is global to your whole repository. So go ahead and call this, I don't know, yourdomain.com. I don't know which address you're going to use. This should be, however, an address that is available and that you own and can manage. And then what is very important, is to actually add a host to your repository. Without a host, nobody can download anything. So click on Add Host. And this now is, the address that is pointing to your server. So as a host, I would put in http:// and then yourdomain.com and then /repository. Mind you, I've just created that for the repository in our htdocs folder. So this is actually the address I would put in here. So hit OK. And we have a repository set up. This is actually all you need to take care of. Really, really quickly. Hit save again maybe, and then these three buttons are important. There's commit, which is going through your repository folder, and by that folder I mean this repository folder, which is hosting all your mod files, not your game directory and not the remote directory. And it's gonna go through all these add-ons and create the necessary files to be able to make them downloadable by clients. Namely, this is the rsync subfolder, which is used to actually distribute the mod. But this is all technical stuff, we don't need to worry about that. Then there's push. If you've already committed your changes, you can just click push and don't have to go through the process of committing them again, because commit will always go ahead and calculate all the checksums for all the files hosted in your custom repository, which can be a lengthy process depending on your hard disk drive speed, computer speed, and how many add-ons you have and how big they are. But regularly you would just click this one button here, which is called commit and push, which is gonna do these both tasks. Of course, it's gonna first commit your add-ons, and then push them. So go ahead and click on commit and push now. It's asking you if you're really sure. Yeah, of course we are really sure, we are professionals. And we click OK. At this point you could close the repository window, and you can see here that it's working. To get some more information, I'm gonna close this small black bar here. And oh, actually I might have changed the layout a little bit. I'm not sure what's happening here. Normally these two windows should be switched because this is now really small. Not really sure why that happened. Anyway, this is now, as you can see, pushing already. So it has finished committing. So if you check our Acre folder again, you can see that the new folder has popped up. It's called .rsync. And this has happened for all our mod folders. Not for the optional mods, and not for the mods, of course, it's gonna download from the official network like Clavgan. And yeah, it's already done. You can see that the push is completed. And the updater is not busy anymore. You can tell that because this button is not grayed out anymore. And of course, if you select your web space folder and the repository folder, you can see that actually now it has populated this folder with all the necessary information containing your server.yml. You remember that is the name we gave the server. And yeah, everything is set up and ready to go. So what your users would now only have to do is either via the web browser, which is what I'm gonna do. So let's just go ahead and open the Internet Explorer. You could have a web page set up that has this link in it, but as I don't have that yet, I could just go ahead and type this in manually. So this is a proprietary link specific to 6-app data. This won't work if you don't have 6-app data installed. Let's click on it now, and yeah, there we go. If you set it up correctly, you have your server running, and you can see now that it has populated these mods with all the custom repository mods, which are denoted by this or marked as a mod with a C behind it as custom. And then there's mods which are required by the server, which are marked by an S. And then there's dependencies to this mod. So I did not add these; they come in automatically because Clavgan requires these. And there's of course optional mods, which are not listed here because they are optional. How do you go ahead and add these mods to your mod set? Well, that's easy. If you know these mods are optional, you can just go ahead and add them using this mods button. You can just look for the mod and then right click and add to preset. Yeah, because they are not, of course, listed in the custom repository mods because they are not hosted ourselves. But if you know they are supported, you can add them to the preset, and 6-app data will allow you to do that. Yeah, and that's basically it. As a client, all you have to do is now download this mod and go ahead and join the game. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy your 6-app data experience.